Hello, twinks and brunettes. I don't change my mind often, but when I do, it's quite radical. Whenever I feel the need for change, it means that something has grown so incredibly stale that things simply cannot stagnate anymore. I love The Sims 2 so much that I would, of course, never let my gameplay stagnate in a way that would make me not want to play it anymore. When I start feeling worn out or annoyed by my own gameplay rules, that usually rings a bell that they simply aren't working for me anymore. I'm very susceptible to suggestion. And whenever I'd watch this type of video from another Sims 2 player in the past, I would unknowingly assume that the way they were playing had to be the right way to do it. I would try to emulate different simmers in different aspects of my gameplay in an effort to reach the perfect gameplay style. Well, I've been learning that nothing is perfect if it doesn't correspond to my wants and needs. Quite like a sim, really. I need to take care of my aspiration gauge and fulfill my wants. This might sound very dramatic, but keep in mind that this game has been an obsession of mine for the 20 years it has existed, and that my style of gameplay has transformed and evolved in ways I couldn't even begin to explain in all these years. Switching it up is only natural, and there isn't one right way of playing. This would be like saying 9-year-old me was playing the game the wrong way, when by all means, she was playing the game in a way I wish I could still get enjoyment from. She played the game in a chaotic way, only playing a single family and doing anything she came up with that she thought could be fun. Keeping up with needs was still quite hard for her, so on top of the game being wacky, it was hard. There's nothing wrong with playing like a beginner, with playing by strictly doing what you want to do. After all, what use is there in playing like other people would prefer? You're you. My brain doesn't work that way though. I'm still avoiding playing some games that came out years ago because I'm convinced I won't do it the right way. So it's not a surprise that when I started watching other people playing The Sims 2, I took a little bit from there, a little bit from there, and a little bit from there, and I ended up with a Frankenstein monster of game rules. To be fair, it was a great place to start to make my own rules, but since I was convinced I had to play right, it took me a while to unclench and make my own variations. My rules have changed slightly since the previous time I made a game rules video, but between 2020 and the time I actually made that first video, they had already evolved so much. I used to think that I had to play my game in a realistic way. Now, nothing sounds more like the antithesis of what The Sims 2 should be. It is a life simulation game, sure, but we cannot forget that it is a game. It is not meant to emulate life realistically and perfectly. It's meant to be a game in which you can simulate life, but which also contains so many features that are obviously not true to life. I personally realized I could not understand why I was so hell bent on making that game realistic when it was never meant to be realistic to begin with. Sure, some elements of the game are true to life and details put into them show that the teams in charge of these features wanted to make them sound and feel as real as possible. But at the core of it all, The Sims 2 is such an unserious game. If you look out of a telescope in the daytime, someone shows up almost immediately to fucking beat your ass. The worst that would happen in real life is that you'd burn your retinas with the sun. There's a plant with a cow head that can eat people. You can phone death to get your loved ones back, and if you don't offer enough money, they turn into zombies. Why would death need money? Food spoils in like 4 hours. Snow melts in the blink of an eye. There's vampires and witches and ghosts and werewolves, and I was out there like, if my Sims fail to conceive 3 times in a row, then that means that they're infertile and I need to only have them adopt from now on. I would then get sad and resentful about my old decisions. When I would be presented with these situations I had firm rules about, because the rules were there for a reason, no matter how bad I felt about them, and I wouldn't have set them if I didn't want to follow them, right? But I never wanted to follow them. It still breaks my heart to put a family sim on birth control when they have their second baby, even if they keep rolling the one to have a baby. It breaks my heart to keep some couples unmarried because they never rolled the one to get engaged, even though I would love to give them a lavish wedding because they're my favorite couple of the moment. I still feel so guilty letting my Sims flunk out of college just because they didn't roll the ones to gain skills or do homework. So now the rules are simple. I do what I want to do. I don't waste time thinking about realism or rules being there for a reason or worrying constantly whenever I made the decision that went against my set rules. Having my couples have 3 children isn't so rare anymore, and all my accidental babies aren't so accidental anymore. My random Roman sim who went to college isn't going to instantly fail because they never rolled the one to gain a cooking skill point, unless I think it would be funny in that moment to make that happen. My cis couples of the same gender do not absolutely have to adopt or deal with a surrogate anymore. I believe that if you try hard enough, you will get that man pregnant. I do have to say, the possibility to have science babies in The Sims 4 was the last push I needed to allow this in my game, regardless of the genders of my Sims. Men can already get pregnant anyway. I was only hesitating for so long for the sake of realism. Many have been saying it also, but once based gameplay has gotten so old. Sure, out of the box once will still inspire me with new gameplay ideas for certain families, but I don't let once run my gameplay anymore. As some of you may know, I give my Sims a lot of personality and a story in my mind, and I would sometimes get upset when their wants wouldn't reflect that or would go against what I had in mind for them. In my head, I had to do what they wanted to do, otherwise, I wasn't playing right. This man I was picturing to be totally head over heels for his wife and never have thoughts about any other woman, well, now he's got to want to flirt with another girl, so he has to cheat, unfortunately. This woman who is acknowledged him keeps rolling the one to have a baby, but she already has 2. I am at war with my own brain, deciding whether to follow my rules of 2 kids max or my rule of playing once base. It's just not a fun way to play for me anymore, so I decided to eliminate this annoyance. Of course, I still do fulfill wants and look at them before making decisions, but not the way I used to. My Sims do not need to have the want to study for skills to get promotions, otherwise they would literally never have one. My Sims don't need to want to have a baby for me to click on try for baby anymore. I want a fucking baby. My Sims don't need to want to teach their child how to walk, how to do their homework, to kiss their spouse, to play chess, to look at the stars. They just do it. And that is so freeing to me. As far as overpopulation goes, the one trick I found that makes me feel a lot better about letting my Sims have more kids is that I marry more of them to townies. It's as simple as that. I used to feel like my top priority should be getting my playables together and get with a townie as a last resort. What that quickly caused, though, with my Sims having few children and all pre-made families being related in some way or another, was that the game would sometimes allow marriages between distant family members that even my extended family mod would not clock. I would realize only once the deed was done and children were already born or on the way because the families had gotten so intertwined and messy that I would honestly not know how 2 Sims could be related without studying their family trees. This problem is something of the past now. In my new Pleasant View, I married some Sims to townies in every generation, and sometimes multiple siblings in the same family all got married to townies. This did make it feel like the number of families at first was exponentially growing, but after the first generation and building some houses, things settled down. I built bigger houses so I could technically play multiple families at once. I built apartment buildings for temporary housing and wait for a family's childhood home to have fewer Sims in it so they could all move back. All these tricks have made my fear of overpopulation disappear because it is simply not overpopulated. I somehow managed to have fewer households to play than in my old Pleasant View, despite having almost gotten further in it time-wise. I made my own townies, so I would love how they looked and I would want to add them to my families, and it was the best decision I have made for my game. As far as choosing the aspirations for my Sims, I no longer go with the set in stone EA way where every zodiac sign is assigned a specific aspiration, and I do not mess with an Excel spreadsheet anymore either. I just look at my Sim's personality and decide what their aspiration will be based on the vibes it gives me. I don't want to leave it all to chance and to pick a random aspiration because I still want to have this level of control where I make the final decision. I have discovered that, for me, it's much more important to go with the flow and follow how the sim inspires me rather than impose an aspiration on them that doesn't seem to fit who they are. I remember a comment on my first Games Rules video that said something like, you know it's serious when the Sims YouTuber pulls out an Excel spreadsheet. And like, yeah, you know it's serious. And I don't want to be serious anymore. It's a game and I want to play it for fun. I'll be serious while doing my taxes or folding my laundry. I don't need to be serious while I play The Sims. Not anymore. If you take anything from this video, let it be this. If you're forcing yourself to play a certain way, ask yourself who you're playing for. Obviously, a part of this struggle was that I was playing my hood for YouTube, so I felt a certain pressure to play a certain way, a way that was palatable, a way that was attractive, which is not really something I care about anymore. I will play the way I want to play, and if people like it, then good. And if people don't like it, well, then too bad. But yes, that will be it for me today. So thank you all for watching. I love you and I care about you. Please follow me on all of my social medias. They will be linked down below, as well as my Ko-fi if that is something that could interest you. The Discord server will also be linked down below. You have no idea how many times I just said this sentence. I couldn't get it out of my mouth, as well as a link to my Twitch channel. I have started streaming again pretty consistently. So throw me a follow or even a subscribe if you want. Sleep tight. Don't let the butt light bite. Tschüss.